Imagine this. It's 1937. The country is still crawling out of the Great Depression. Jobs are scarce. Hope feels expensive. And a journalist named Napoleon Hill makes a bold claim. He says the difference between people who rise and people who stay stuck is not luck. It's not IQ. It's not even their circumstances. It's the way they think and what they do with that thinking. This is Think and Grow Rich, not a get-rich-quick book, a blueprint for turning a clear goal into a real result through mindset, planning, and persistence. And today, I'm going to walk you through the big ideas, the most practical principles, and how to use them in modern life without the fluff. Take a breath, because if you actually apply even a few of these principles, your life can start to feel different, not magically, but noticeably. Let's begin. Napoleon Hill's story starts with one of the most famous steel tycoons in American history, Andrew Carnegie. Carnegie challenged Hill to interview successful people and uncover a repeatable formula for achievement, not just money, achievement in any form. Hill claims he studied hundreds of high performers, entrepreneurs, inventors, leaders, and looked for patterns. Now, let's be honest. Some of Hill's writing has that old-school, dramatic vibe. Some stories feel larger than life, and parts of the book don't read like modern science. But here's the reason Think and Grow Rich has survived for generations. Because beneath the old-fashioned language, it hits a timeless truth. Your outcomes are shaped by your dominant thoughts, and your dominant thoughts are shaped by what you repeatedly focus on. So the book is really about this. How do you build focus so strong that it turns into action, and action so consistent that it turns into results? Hill summarizes the core idea like this. Thoughts are powerful, especially when mixed with emotion and backed by a plan. So if you want to think and grow rich, you don't just daydream. You choose a target. You attach real desire to it. You program your mind toward it. You build skills. You take action. You adapt. You persist. That's the real formula. And Hill breaks it into principles. Let's walk through them, like a story you can actually use. Principle 1. Desire. Hill calls desire the starting point of all achievement, not a wish, not, it would be nice, a burning desire. Because desire is what pulls you out of bed when motivation is gone. Here's a key difference. A wish says, I hope it happens. A desire says, I will make it happen. Hill gives a very specific exercise. Pick a clear goal. Decide exactly what you want. Decide what you're willing to give in return. And set a deadline. Create a plan. Write it down. Read it out loud every day. Now, even if you don't believe in mind programming, this exercise does something powerful. It forces clarity. Most people don't fail because they aim too high. They fail because they aim at nothing specific. Think about that. If you say, I want to be successful, your brain can't grab it. There's no map. But if you say, I want to build a business that earns $10,000 a month by December by selling this product to this audience, now your brain has something to work with. Clarity creates direction. Direction creates decisions. Decisions create momentum. So here's a question you can pause on. What do you want, specifically? Not what you don't want, what you want. And what are you willing to trade for it? Time, comfort.ego, distractions, late nights, learning curves. Every goal has a price. Desire is what makes you willing to pay it. Principle 2. Faith. Hill uses the word faith in a particular way. Not religious faith necessarily. He means belief in your ability to achieve the goal. Because belief changes behavior. If you believe something is possible for you, you act differently. You take bolder steps. You recover faster from setbacks. You look for solutions instead of excuses. And if you believe you can't do it, you also act accordingly. You hesitate. You procrastinate. You quit early, then call it realism. Hill says faith can be built through repetition. You feed your mind the idea so often that it becomes your default identity. Now, let's modernize that. If you tell yourself, "I'm not the type of person who finishes things," you will prove yourself right, not because it's true, but because you'll act in alignment with it. So the real question is, what identity are you practicing? Because identity is not what you claim once, it's what you rehearse daily. If you want faith, start with a small promise you can keep. 1 page a day, 1 workout, 1 outreach message, 1 skill practice session. Faith grows when you stack evidence, not when you wait for confidence to fall from the sky. Principle 3. Autosuggestion. Big word, simple idea. What you repeatedly say to yourself becomes what you repeatedly see, and what you repeatedly see becomes what you repeatedly do. Hill suggests reading your written goal statement aloud, with emotion, every morning and night. Again, you don't have to treat this like magic. Treat it like training. You're training your attention, because attention is the real currency of results. If your attention is scattered, your life becomes scattered. Autosuggestion is basically focused self-talk. And here's the most important part. It's not just positive thinking. It's directing your mind to a goal and reminding yourself who you are becoming. So instead of saying, "Everything will be perfect," you say something more grounded. "I'm building this. I'm learning. I'm improving. I take action even when I feel uncertain. I stay consistent." That kind of self-talk doesn't deny reality. It strengthens your response to reality. Principle 4. Specialized knowledge. Hill says general knowledge is not enough. You need specialized knowledge and the ability to organize it into action. In modern terms, it's not about knowing everything. It's about knowing the right things for your specific goal. And there's a trap here. Information can feel like progress without being progress. You can watch videos for years and never execute. You can read books forever and never build. Hill's point is simple. Knowledge becomes power only when applied. So here's a practical approach. Pick one skill that moves your goal forward. Just one. Sales, writing, public speaking, coding, editing, design, negotiation, fitness fundamentals, whatever fits your mission. Then do something most people won't do. Study it daily and practice it daily until you become dangerous, not perfect, dangerous. Because the world rewards people who can deliver results, not people who can recite theories. Principle 5. Imagination. Hill says imagination is where all plans are born, and he splits imagination into 2 types. Synthetic imagination. That's combining existing ideas into something new. And creative imagination. That's those flashes of insight, those sudden connections. Here's the modern truth. Innovation is rarely a lightning bolt. It's usually remix. You see 2 things that exist, and you combine them in a new way. A podcast plus education, a cafe vibe plus language learning, a book summary plus storytelling, a service plus a better user experience. Imagination is the bridge between desire and plan. So if you feel stuck, try this exercise. Get a blank page, write your goal at the top, then write this question. How could I achieve this if I had to do it in a completely different way? Then list 10 answers, even dumb ones. Because dumb ideas often open the door to smart ones. Imagination is a muscle. If you never use it, it weakens. If you train it, it starts offering you solutions. Principle 6. Organized planning. This is where the book becomes real. Hill says you need a plan, and you need action. Not perfect action, action. And he makes a point that's almost comforting. Plans will fail. You will try something. It won't work. That doesn't mean you're doomed. It means you're learning the path. So your job is not to create a flawless plan. Your job is to create a plan you can start and adjust. Here's a practical way to do organized planning. First, define the outcome. Second, define the next 3 steps, not the next 50, the next 3. Then, define one daily action that moves you forward. One call, one page, one upload, one workout, one proposal, one lesson. When people say they don't have discipline, a lot of the time they don't have clarity. They don't know what to do next, so they do nothing. Organized planning solves that. And Hill adds something else. If you want big results, surround yourself with people who can help you execute. That leads to the next principle. Principle 7, decision. Hill says successful people make decisions quickly and change them slowly. Unsuccessful people do the opposite. They decide slowly and change quickly. Why? Because hesitation is expensive. Hesitation drains energy. It creates mental noise. It invites fear to negotiate with you, and fear always negotiates like a bully. Fear says, "What if you fail?" Fear says, "What if people judge you?" Fear says, "Wait until you're ready." But here's the truth. You don't become ready, then act. You act, then become ready. Decision is a form of identity. When you decide, you stop arguing with yourself. You might still feel nervous, but you stop wavering. So ask yourself, what decision have you been delaying? Not because you don't know, but because you're afraid of committing. Pick one, make it, then move. Principle 8, persistence. Hill says persistence is sustained effort in the face of difficulty, and he's blunt about it. Most people quit too soon. They try, they hit resistance, they interpret resistance as a sign, then they stop. But resistance is not a sign to stop. It's a sign that you're doing something real. Think of any meaningful goal. Building a business, transforming your health, learning a language, writing a book, changing your life direction. None of those come with a smooth road. So persistence is what separates the people who succeed from the people who just had a good start. Hill also talks about something that kills persistence. Indecision. Doubt, a scattered mind. That's why the earlier principles matter. Desire gives you fuel. Faith gives you belief. Autosuggestion gives you focus. Planning gives you direction. Decision gives you momentum. Then, persistence keeps you alive when motivation dies. Here's a practical way to build persistence. Make your goals smaller and your consistency bigger. Instead of saying, "I will change my entire life this week," say, "I will show up today. I will do the next step. I will keep my promise." Persistence is not heroic, it's daily. Principle 9, the Mastermind. This is one of the most famous ideas in the book. Hill says a mastermind is a group of people who work together in harmony toward a shared goal and create a combined intelligence. Now, you don't need a formal group with a fancy name. A mastermind can be a business partner, a mentor, a weekly accountability call, a community of builders, a team. The key is this: isolation makes you weak, collaboration makes you sharper. When you're alone, your mind can trap you in circles. When you talk to the right person, you get unstuck in 5 minutes. And the right person is not just someone who agrees with you, it's someone who challenges you while still believing in you. So here's a practical mastermind move. Find one person who's serious about improving. Set a weekly check-in, 30 minutes. Each week share what you said you would do, what you actually did, what blocked you, what you'll do next. That simple structure can change your output massively. Principle 10, sex transmutation. This is the most misunderstood part of the book, especially today. Hill basically argues that strong human desire can be redirected into creativity, ambition, and achievement. You don't have to take it literally. Take it practically. You have energy, you have emotion, you have intensity, and you can waste it or you can channel it. When you feel restless, hungry, driven, that's not always a problem. That's power. The question is, where does it go? Into distractions, into drama, into instant gratification, or into your mission? This principle is really about discipline and direction. turning raw energy into focused progress. Principle 11, the subconscious mind. Hill says your subconscious mind absorbs whatever you repeatedly feed it, thoughts, emotions, images, words, and it becomes a kind of engine running in the background. Modern psychology would say something similar, in a different language. Your brain builds patterns. What you repeatedly practice becomes your default. So if you constantly feed your mind fear, doom, and negativity, it becomes your lens. If you feed your mind hope, discipline, and purposeful focus, that becomes your lens. This doesn't mean you ignore real problems. It means you choose what dominates your attention. A practical takeaway here is environment design. If you want your subconscious to support your goals, change what surrounds you. Change what you watch. Change what you listen to. Change what you read. Change what you talk about with friends. Not because you're fragile, because you're training. Principle 12, the brain. Hill calls the brain a broadcasting and receiving station for thought. Again, old school language. But there's a modern version. Your brain is shaped by inputs and relationships. If you spend time around people who build, create, and solve problems, you start thinking that way. If you spend time around people who complain, criticize, and avoid responsibility, you start thinking that way too. Your brain mirrors your environment. So if you want to elevate your thinking, elevate what you expose yourself to. One powerful habit is what I call a mental diet. For 30 days, cut down the mental junk. Less doom scrolling, less pointless arguing, less draining content. Replace it with inputs that strengthen you. Biographies, skill lessons, quality conversations, long-form learning, quiet time. Your brain will feel different and your actions will follow. Principle 13, the sixth sense. Hill describes the sixth sense as intuition, a kind of inner guidance that develops when you apply the principles consistently. Some people treat this as mystical. You don't have to. Think of it as pattern recognition. When you put in enough reps, you start noticing things. You see opportunities earlier. You feel when a plan is off. You sense what matters. That's not magic. That's experience. The sixth sense is often your mind connecting dots faster than your conscious thinking can explain. And Hill's point is, this tends to show up after you've done the work, not before. So don't wait for intuition to save you. Build the habits, build the skill, build the plan. Then, over time, your instincts sharpen. Now, Hill also includes something crucial. He names the major enemy of achievement, fear, and he lists forms of fear that sabotage people. Fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of ill health, fear of loss of love, fear of old age, fear of death. Whether you agree with every category or not, the insight is real. Fear is not just an emotion. Fear is a strategy your mind uses to keep you safe by keeping you small. Fear wants you predictable, but growth requires discomfort. So how do you deal with fear? Hill's answer is not, pretend you're not afraid. His answer is to replace fear with a stronger habit of thought. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is action in the presence of fear. So when you feel fear, ask this: what is the smallest brave action I can take right now? Not a life-changing leap. A small step. Send the message, do the workout, make the call, publish the post, practice the skill. Small, brave actions turn fear into fuel. Now let's bring all of this together in a way you can actually apply. Because it's easy to listen to a summary and think, nice ideas, but the real value is in using it. So here's a simple Think and Grow Rich application plan. Step 1. Write a clear goal. Be specific. I am building. I am earning. I am creating. I am achieving. Add a deadline. Step 2. Write what you will give in exchange. Time every day, skill practice, daily outreach, consistency. Step 3. Create your daily autosuggestion statement. A few lines you can read out loud. Not cheesy, not fake. Grounded. I am becoming the kind of person who finishes what I start. I take consistent action. I learn quickly. I adapt. I persist. I deliver value. Step 4. Choose one specialized skill and commit to daily practice, even 20 minutes. Daily beats occasional. Step 5. Plan your next 3 steps, not the full roadmap, just the next 3. Step 6. Build a mastermind connection, one person, one weekly check-in. Step 7. Decide and persist. No drama. No waiting for perfect mood, just movement. Now, I want to give you a short story-style example, because this is where the book really clicks. Imagine someone named Mike. Mike has a decent job. He's smart. He's capable. But he feels stuck. He wants to start a small online business. He watches videos. He reads threads. He makes notes. Months pass. Nothing changes. Why? Because he has information, but no organized plan. He has interest, but not burning desire. He has hope, but not decision. Then, one day, Mike writes a clear goal. In 12 months, I will earn $5,000 a month from a service business. He chooses a service, he picks a niche, he sets a deadline, he writes what he'll give in exchange, 1 hour a day, 5 outreach messages a day, skill practice. He records a short statement in his own voice and listens each morning. He joins a small community of builders and finds one accountability partner. He makes a plan. Week 1, create an offer. Week 2, build a simple page. Week 3, outreach daily. He makes a decision. No more endless research. And then the hard part begins. He gets ignored. He gets rejected. He feels embarrassed. He doubts himself. This is where most people quit. But he persists. He improves his message. He improves his offer. He learns from feedback. Then something happens. 1 client, then 2, then referrals. Not overnight, but over months. And suddenly, Mike has something that used to feel impossible: momentum. Now, did Mike manifest money out of thin air? Number, he built clarity. He trained belief. He focused attention. He learned specialized skill. He made a plan. He made decisions. He persisted. That's Think and Grow Rich in real life. Not magic, method. Now, let's be balanced. Think and Grow Rich is powerful, but it can be misunderstood. Some people use it as an excuse to fantasize. They repeat affirmations, but never act. They believe, but never build. Hill would call that self-deception, because his principles always come back to action. Your mind sets the direction. Your actions create the proof. So if you take one message from this book, let it be this: your life changes when your focus becomes consistent, and your consistency becomes non-negotiable. And you don't need to apply all 13 principles perfectly. You just need to apply a few seriously. Let me give you a final recap in a simple, memorable way. Desire. Get clear on what you want. Faith. Build belief through evidence and kept promises. Autosuggestion. Train your focus daily. Specialized knowledge. Learn what matters and apply it. Imagination. Create options and solutions. Planning. Turn ideas into steps. Decision. Choose and move. Persistence. Keep going when it's not fun. Mastermind. Don't do it alone. Energy transmutation. Channel your intensity into your mission. Subconscious programming. Guard your inputs. Brain and environment. Upgrade what surrounds you. Sixth sense. Trust the instincts you earn through reps. And above all, do not negotiate with fear. Now, before we close, I want you to think about one thing. If you could only implement one principle starting today, what would it be? Would it be writing your goal clearly for the first time? Would it be making a decision you've been delaying? Would it be persistence, sticking with one thing for the next 30 days? Would it be finding a mastermind partner so you're not carrying everything alone? Pick one, because one real change beats 1,000 inspired thoughts. And here's your final challenge. After you finish this episode, open a note, write your goal in one sentence, write your deadline, write your next 3 steps, then do the first step today. Not tomorrow, today, even if it's small. Small steps are how big lives are built. All right. If you enjoyed this breakdown of Think and Grow Rich, and you want more book summaries like this, told like a story, with practical steps you can actually use, hit like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments which principle hit you the hardest and what goal you're committing to next. I read the comments, and I might turn yours into the next episode. Until then, stay focused, stay persistent, and keep building the future you can't stop thinking about. Because the truth is, it starts as a thought, but it becomes real when you decide it will.